All right, buckle up, everyone. We're diving deep into a Champions League face-off that's got me seriously pumped. Atalanta versus Real Madrid, two powerhouses ready to clash on the pitch.
Oh, absolutely. And this one is going to be a tactical battle for the ages, that's for sure. We're talking contrasting styles, missing players that could shake things up, and a whole lot of strategic moves about to unfold.
So first things first, make sure you've got this one marked on your calendar, December 10th, 2024. It's going to be epic. We're still waiting on that official kickoff time and all the broadcast details, but we'll definitely get that info out to you as soon as we have it.
Yep, stay tuned for that.
Now let's talk tactics. Looks like Atalanta's probably going to roll out that 3-4-2-1 formation we've seen him use so effectively.
Yeah, which makes things extra interesting going up against Real Madrid, who, they're probably going to stick with their classic 4-3-3.
So right off the bat, we've got this tactical clash of styles. Atalanta with their three-man defense and those wingbacks pushing forward, always looking for those quick transitions and open spaces to exploit.
Right, they thrive on that chaos. And then you've got Real Madrid, the masters of control, just dictating the tempo, possessing the ball, waiting for that perfect opening.
So the question is, can Atalanta break through that control? They're known for their aggressive pressing, but they'll be without Cuadrado and Zappacosta, two players who are really key to that high-energy, in-your-face style.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough blow. Makes you wonder how their manager's going to approach this one. Do they try to, replicate that same intensity without those key pieces? Or do they adapt, maybe try something different?
And Real Madrid, even with their own injury woes, you just know they're going to be watching for any weakness in that pressing game, ready to pounce.
Oh, for sure. Any gap, any hesitation, Real's going to try to exploit it.
And speaking of missing pieces, Real Madrid's backline is going to look pretty different without Mendy, Carvajal, Alaba, and Militao. Man, that's a lot of experience and defensive strength out of the equation.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a lot of firepower on the sidelines. Could be a real opportunity for Atalanta,
Especially with someone like Emil Lookman leading the attack.
Oh, yeah, Lookman. He's been incredible for Atalanta this Champions League season.
He's their leading scorer, and his pace and creativity, that could be a real nightmare for a Real Madrid defense that's still kind of, maybe find its feet a bit.
It's going to be a test for sure. But let's not forget who Real has on their side. We're talking about Vinícius Júnior. This guy can change the entire game in a flash.
Oh, absolutely. Junior is a game changer. And with a player rating higher than anyone else in this matchup, he's definitely the one to watch.
That matchup alone, Lookman versus Junior, that's worth the price of admission right there.
No doubt. But it's not just about individual stars. It's about these two teams as a whole. Two contrasting styles, both dealing with missing players. How are they going to adapt? How are they going to exploit those weaknesses? That's what makes this a real tactical chess match.
Exactly. It's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out.
All right, so we've got the stage set, a clash of styles, key players missing on both sides, tactical intrigue galore. But before we jump into the predicted lineups and really break down those tactical nuances.
Yeah, let's pause for a second. What's grabbing your attention so far? What are you most curious to see happen on the pitch?
I'm really curious to see how those missing players, especially on the defensive side, how that really shakes things up. Let's get into these predicted lineups, see how these tactical formations might actually play out when the whistle blows.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at Atalanta, it's probably going to be that 3-4-2-1, right? Carnesecchi in goal. Then a back three. You've got Toloy Hin and Jimsidi, Ruggeri and Bellanova. They'll be those dynamic wing backs we were talking about. And then anchoring that midfield, Ederson and Rune. Up front, you've got Lookman and Ketelaere. They're going to be the creative force behind striker Retegui.
Seems like a pretty solid lineup, even with, those key guys out. But what about Real Madrid? How do you see them lining up in their 4-3-3?
Well, Courtois, he'll be between the posts, no surprises there. But that back four, that's where things get interesting. With Mendy, Carvajal, Alaba, and Militao all out, we could see a backline of Garcia, Rudiger, Raul, and Vasquez.
Interesting. A back four with some potential, but also one that Atalanta might really target. Especially considering Atalanta's, their strength in the air.
Right.
And remember, they've actually got a better aerial duel win rate than Real Madrid in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, definitely something Atalanta could use to their advantage, especially if they can, get those quality balls into the box, set pieces, crosses, anything like that.
Yeah, that back four is going to have to be on high alert.
Absolutely. Real Madrid's midfield, Bellingham, Tchouameni, and Valverde, they're going to be absolutely crucial in trying to, control that tempo and limit those chances for Atalanta.
So it's almost like there's two different games happening on the pitch.
Yeah.
Real Madrid trying to just like dictate that possession. And Atalanta, they're going to be looking to disrupt, counterattack.
Yeah, exactly. It's that clash of styles we were talking about.
And then you throw in those individual battles, like Lookman going up against, what's essentially a makeshift Real Madrid defense.
Yeah.
Or Junior trying to create that chaos on the flanks.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder, with Real Madrid missing so many of their usual defenders, could this actually be like the perfect match for Atalanta? Could we see their high-pressing, quick transition style really shine, even without Cuadrado and Zappacosta?
That's the big question, right? And on the flip side, can Real Madrid's attack, I mean, they're still dangerous, but without Benzema, can they do enough damage to, overcome a potentially shaky defense? I mean, that front three, Junior, Mbappe, and Rodrigo, that's still a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, no question about it. They can score goals, and this is where Real Madrid's, that experience they have, that individual brilliance, it could really come into play. They've been in these big games, those high-pressure situations before, and players like Junior and Mbappe, I mean, those guys can just, change everything with one moment of magic.
So we've got the tactical formations, the predicted lineups, those game-changing matchups. But from a purely tactical perspective, what are you most curious about? What are you really watching for?
For me, it all comes down to how those missing players, those absences, how they impact the overall approach of each team. Can Atalanta find a way to disrupt Real Madrid's build-up play without that usual intensity they have when they're pressing? And can Real Madrid's, those less experienced defenders, can they hold up against this really dynamic Atalanta attack?
That's like a tactical puzzle.
Yeah.
We get to see it all unfold in real time. Before we get to the predictions, though, what's intriguing you? What are you leaning towards? Okay, so we've really broken down these formations, analyzed all those potential weak spots, talked about the missing players and how that could change things. But the big question remains, who's walking away with the W? Who's taking this one?
Ah, man, it's tough to say. I mean, honestly, it feels like a toss-up right now. Both sides have a real shot at this, especially with, all these different factors we've been talking about.
Yeah, definitely not an easy one to call.
One expert analysis we saw, they're actually giving Atalanta the edge. They're predicting a 2-1 win for the Italian side.
Huh, interesting. But then you look at the betting odds, and they're leaning slightly towards Real Madrid.
Right, it's almost like they're contradicting each other.
It does. I guess It really just shows how, how unpredictable this matchup is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Atalanta, they've got that speed, that tactical flexibility. Those could be the keys for them. But Real Madrid, they have that experience, that individual brilliance that can, just take over a game.
It's like one of those classic boxing matches, right?
Yeah.
You got a technical fighter going up against a knockout artist. Which style wins out in the end?
Exactly. We'll just have to wait and see.
But one thing I'm pretty sure about, I think we're in for a goal fest. Both teams have got some serious firepower up front. And with those defensive gaps we talked about, I wouldn't be surprised to see some fireworks on that scoreboard.
Yeah, I agree. This doesn't feel like one of those, low-scoring tactical stalemates. There's just too much attacking talent on both sides for that.
Right. It's going to come down to who can capitalize on those opportunities. And maybe even more importantly, who can minimize the damage on the other end.
For sure.
So let's recap for everyone. We've got a clash of styles, key players missing, expert analysis leaning one way, betting odds going the other, and a good chance of a high-scoring thriller. What more could you ask for in a Champions League match?
The beauty of football, right? It defies predictions. You can analyze all you want, but you can't account for those moments of brilliance, those on-the-fly adjustments, that pure determination that can just, shift the whole momentum of a game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
So when you're watching this match unfold, remember, it's more than just a game, right? You're seeing tactics clash, individual skill on display. That passion, that unpredictability, it's what makes football so captivating.
Exactly. Enjoy the match, everyone. And remember, even if you get your predictions right, the real joy is just seeing how it all plays out on the pitch.
And that's a wrap for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep on diving deep.